And hello. Let's see if this all comes up right because there is a delay. I'm showing up okay over there. All right, so first and foremost, hello to the folks that are on here already waiting for me. Appreciate it. You guys are awesome. I see SK3D. How we doing? I see Stephen Reamer. Raymer. You can tell me later. Nick, hey man, what's up? Woody, howdy there to Woody. And a little conversation going on. Let's see if I don't even saw it, but BB somehow managed to get a pre-roll video. It came up, it was opened early. I didn't know that was possible. I'm magical. Yeah. I've got some really funny ideas. And Rick, hey Rick. Nick, about that pre-roll thing. So I was, this is kind of an impromptu thing here because I haven't put a video out. We were really busy last couple weeks. My family went to California without me because I have to work, and I wound up having to drive about an 18-hour day to go pick up my mom, who was in Canada, and bring her back to the States. Funny story on that. I found out when we were crossing back into the border, because my mom is a resident alien, meaning she has a visa, and she has one of the very few still out there permanent visas, which never expires. But the gentleman at the border crossing told us that if she was in Canada for more than 6 months, it was a violation of her visa. And she had been there this many months. So that was a little scary, but we got her back. And I see Rich is here. Awesome. Nick, anyways, back on that. So I was thinking about doing a really funny kind of intro video. And if I have more time, eventually I will do it. But I'll let the small group that's here right now know what it is. It'll be a little secret here between us. I was gonna do a green screen behind me with me doing something similar to that, and then basically have me walk in, kind of slap myself on the back of the head and say, start the damn stream, something like that. But yeah, the pre-roll is something that is in there if you look hard enough. Pretty easy to do. I will make some better ones, maybe a little bit longer. Maybe we'll have some information in there about my channel and stuff like that. Not really looking necessarily to grow a huge channel or anything like that, but I do have fun doing this, and I have fun hanging out with people, and I think as close as we can be here on the internet with a YouTube personality type person like me and you guys as viewers, I really appreciate it, and I do consider us kind of like a very extended family, right? I'm gonna get my breath. So yeah, so Rich showed up, and Nick, and yeah, glad you got her back. Yeah. Yeah, it was, she's 74. She's lived in the United States since 1972, maybe. I was born in 78, so she's been in the United States much longer than she was ever in Canada, but she still has her family, or what's remaining of her family there. So she was actually spending some time with her sister, Nicole, who is battling cancer right now. She had breast cancer and been going through chemotherapy and radiation therapy. So she spent about 6-7 months up there. I thought it was 6, but turns out it was 7. And yeah, so it was a very trying time for her, and she really wanted to come back. I wanted to not go up there until the snow was gone. But enough about me and my personal life. How are you guys doing? We'll just say a couple things before we start off going over what I want to go over today. What does this button do? Oh yeah, it's been a while since I've done this type of stuff over here, yeah. If you have questions, comments, or anything about this, go ahead and throw them up in the chat. Please do realize that it takes about 20 or 30 seconds. Poor boy, what's up, man? 20 or 30 seconds for that stuff to show up for me to see it. If you guys have answers or solutions to people's problems that you also see in the comments or in the chat, go ahead and answer those up. If I have a different opinion, I'll let you know. I also want to let people know, and specifically this goes out to my friend John Bima. I am not a 3D printer professional. I do not do this for my job. I do it as a hobby. So there's at least 2 things that changes somebody from doing this as a hobby versus doing it professionally. Number 1, I will not be right every single time, but that doesn't make somebody a professional, because a lot of professionals that aren't right every single time too. Number 2, sometimes it means more to me to spend more time and money to do something, to kind of do it, than to not do it and try to do everything for the cheapest or the best bang for my buck. And we had a long conversation about that, about this particular printer, and we'll talk about that today. Some of the things I've put on this printer, some of the things that as I go on with this build that would I do again, would I not do again, things like that. So yeah, anyways, all the things aside, let's, hey, it's Golden Jaguar. Stop by to say hi studying. All right, Dylan G, hey, hey. Nick saying hi to Golden Jaguar. Golden Jaguar is a ghost these days. He's ghosting all of us. He needs to make more content. He's a hard-working man though, so you can't put up somebody that yeah, you can't give somebody some slack for not putting in the effort. And he's putting some effort in, man. And same thing for poor boy, man. You're a couple steps ahead of me. You put every ounce a minute that you can into your printer, and that's freaking amazing. I've seen you start up, excuse me, just had dinner, live streams, and only do them for about 15 minutes because you had 15 minutes to do something. And that's great. And I love the fact that you're using your live stream to help you build your printer. That's just amazing. Yeah, so let's see. Finally joined the club to get my Suvo 6 Plus. I am now running prints. Awesome. Chuck, let's see, keep the RPI cool. I printed a DIN mount for the 4040 fan, put next to Raspberry Pi, quite an effective. Yeah, Nick, yep. Yeah, so with this printer, a 4040 fan, that's cool and all. As long as you're not putting like 80mm fan on that. I really haven't had troubles with any of my printers with my Raspberry Pi is really heating up that much. I have had some lately that are coming up showing under voltage, and I'm not sure why, and I haven't dug into it because it hasn't affected my prints. So, let's see. Nuno, hey, how are we doing there? Yeah, I couldn't have gotten as far as I have without you, awesome community. I agree. Everybody here, awesome. You guys all, if I had like gold stars or something to give up to everybody would get one. So yeah, let me get into this. Let me go main chat. There we go. So we'll throw the chat up there real quick, and then man, I'm dragging this out. I really don't mean to, but it's been a while since I've talked to you guys, and I really wish you guys would reach out more often, either via comments or email even. I really do enjoy talking to you guys. Hell, I would do live streams. I'd like to bring some of you guys on some of these live streams at some point, either in voice or video. That'd be awesome too. But anyways, those people down there, over here, somewhere's down there, Golden Jaguar. I mean, we got our patrons. We got Mark Davis. We had Brad, Nora, SK3D, who's also here. So say thank you to SK3D. He helps fund some of the stuff I'm doing here. Speaking of funding, and this does not go for anybody that's a Patreon, because I wouldn't expect any of those people to double dip, so to speak, but I am now monetized. So if you want to throw a little bit of change in the hat, I think I have my super chat set up. It's should be a little thing down at the bottom. By no means or any way am I asking for you guys to chip in if you don't want to, but it is down there now because people have asked about that. Oh, we have more people here. We have Teza. Hi all. Let's see here. Glad you finally have a couple prints under my belt. Yeah, Bob Euler, greetings from Ohio. Bob, you must be near KB3D. One of my favorite vendors. We'll see if Chris shows up here tonight. Yeah, we haven't talked about anything, have we? Anyway, yeah, back over there. First Slayer, that's Rich, great friend. Rich is great. And then DeWitt 3D, that's Tim. Tim's also awesome. Both of those were awesome channels. Same thing with Golden Jaguar. And yeah, whew, talking a million miles a minute just to get this all out. Let's see here. If you're using a 5-volt PSU for your Pi, you can increase the voltage to 5.4 and avoid undervoltage issue. Yes, I totally agree. I just haven't done it on the other one. I usually tend to go about 10% over voltage on all of my power supplies. And I do that just because wire losses and things like that, and you tend to be pretty safe doing that. The only thing that could have happened on, it's actually my 2.4, my other 2.4, it's having that issue. I don't know, maybe a capacitor is getting weaker or something like that. It is a meanwhile power supply, so it's pretty decent quality, but it's going downhill a little bit. So, finishing up and wiring my EBB36. That is awesome. Connected via USB. It's working very nicely. So, you know, you're doing it via USB as opposed to CAN, or am I reading that wrong? Because I've thought about that, because I kind of like USB better than CAN. I can appreciate the Pi issues from Woody. Woody, I'd like everybody to pay attention to Woody, who is the Woody Woodpecker there, and if you look it upside down, you'll get the Woody out of it. But Woody is part of the reason why Raspberry Pis are so difficult to get these days. Woody has taken upon himself to destroy multiple Raspberry Pis in the build of his printer, and he's not quite sure how he's done it, and neither am I. Although now Woody has a Raspberry Pi 4 that he got from Kinematic, which I suggested, and it seems to be working okay for him. I just have no idea what Woody did to kill two Raspberry 3 B Pis. Yeah, exactly. Nick is crying a tear because Woody is killing Pis. But somebody had to do it, right? Drive those prices up. All right, let's talk a little bit about Mr. Printer here. I'm gonna pause, wait. You guys continue to write stuff in chat. I always get this backwards. Chat. Man, yeah, chat right there. You guys keep on talking in the chat. It might go away on some of these screens just to be a little bit easier for you guys to see what's going on here, but I'll go back up and see what you guys are saying, and go back and answer questions or make comments, or, you know, tell really bad dad jokes if you guys like that type of thing, because I do, and that's all that matters. All right. That's that camera. Okay. Here it is. Here is another one of these cameras. Another thing I want to point out is this is my ultimate VORON 2.4 R2 build. It's not the ultimate VORON 2.4 R2 build, because no matter what I put into this build, a week or two later, there will be other stuff that I wish I had put into it, and it's already happened with this one, which is why we're going to do the upgrade on the other one. So my ultimate VORON 2.2 R2 build, and thus far where we're at. Before I get too deep into where I'm currently at, which is basically getting to the point where we're just going to start doing some tuning, I want to talk about the build in general, go over the parts in it for the people that don't know, and maybe even talk a little bit about some of the things that I think are definitely A pluses and you should definitely consider. Other things that are, yeah, maybe, and a couple things that I think you can kind of skip. So that being said, first things first, the LDO kit, okay? So this came from an LDO kit. This one in particular is space gray. I love the color of it. My extrusions are very nice. Everything has been square. Everything has been really nice with that. I have no issues with any of the stepper motors that came with the kit. They all seem to be working very well. All of the idlers, all the bearings, all of the motion gear is very good. It came with Gates belts. Or I can assume are Gates belts, because really, can you be 100% sure these days with manufacturing the way it is? But I believe these are Gates belts. They look like Gates belts. Hopefully they're Gates belts, or something very similar that work just as well as Gates belts, because honestly, I don't care. And Golden Jaguar will tell you that any belt that has fiberglass reinforcement is a good belt. So I won't disagree with that. So what else? The kit came with an Octopus. The Octopus is a nice MCU. No issues there. Firmware loaded very easily on it once I built it. It has a ton of ports, a ton of inputs and outputs, more than I need for this printer, more than most people would need for almost any printer that they're using for a hobby machine. Maybe not a manufacturing or a print farm type thing, but definitely for most people, including some of those other people, enough on that. Raspberry Pi, I did find a Raspberry Pi. I had a couple snuck away. This is a Raspberry Pi 4, 2 gig, I think, of memory in that one. Not too concerned about the memory, should be pretty good. But Raspberry Pi 4, one of the reasons I did want to go with something a little bit more high-end is leading me into the cameras. I do have 2 cameras on here. This one I was just starting to run the cabling on it. Not doing that on video because some things are just way too boring to watch. So 2 cameras on this one. I have the Logitech C290, I think it is. And I also have the actually the 3DO 4K nozzle cam on here too, which I'm having a couple of small issues with at the moment. I'm gonna take a quick pause and see what we have down here with the chats. Let's see, can we bring the chats up? There's the chats. Okay, let's look real quick. Yes, via USB. NUNO came back and told me, actually, let me go back a little bit further here. Let's see, Nick, hello. I still need to dial in a bit, but for my first printer, I'm stoked about printing. Dylan G, what are you printing? What are you noticing that isn't dialed in yet? Because don't overthink it. I'll tell you a quick story about this at some point when I get through that, about overthinking and how it can definitely set you back. Just keep marching forward. Look at your prints, see what you can do, and ask this amazing group of people here what you can do to make that better. And I'm gonna switch over this real quick. Switch back, yep, so let's see here. Anyways, yeah, NUNO, USB, great, easy to set up. I agree. I don't exactly know why people are using CAN bus on printers personally. USB seems like it would work just fine. I'm sure there's a reason that somebody can tell me. But I'm sure there's also another person to tell me another reason why USB is better than CAN, because you know what opinions are like. What is the benefit of a TMC 224 versus 2209 on a Big Tree Tech CAN bus board? Two different stepper drivers, and I do not have the specifics here. Rich might have an answer for that. Rich, if you have a more specific answer as to the TMC 2240 versus the 2209 stepper on the CAN bus board, I think it probably has to do with current and how much they can handle. They're both very good steppers, but I'm sure there's a reason. I think one of them might have been heat, if I recall correctly. One of those two has had an overheating problem on some of those CAN bus boards, just because there's not enough airflow. Let's see here, Nick, good day, it's John Biba, and I've been talking about you, John. I've been throwing out left and right. I'm gonna go right down, 2240, 2209, nothing, John says. John is a professional, I am a hobbyist. John, I've been talking about you, and I've been taking some of the things that you said to heart. I had mentioned people today that this is my ultimate Voron build, not the ultimate Voron build. I've also talked a little bit about the fact that I am a hobbyist and I do not know everything. I am working my way through problems just the same as a lot of people do. But when I do my videos, I want them to see the mistakes as well as the wins. So get that out of the way. And since I know John may have just showed up, I want to make sure he hears that too. Let's see here. First layer, good day. Yep, poor boy. I'm just waving at all my friends and supporters. You know who you are, and every single one of you are very special to me. You are one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And Rich always talks about how much he likes your style, your presentation in your videos. So keep it up. Nick, oh man, I figured out what the Octopus boards have 8 steppers. Octopus have 8 appendages. Yeah. It's actually 7. 7 or 8. 2 of them tied together. But nonetheless, I don't know why people are doing that. I bet John does though. Most USB cables won't last long moving around. Yeah, I could see that. I guess it's only going to take probably Big Tree Tech or somebody to make if they wanted to make a higher end USB cable. Actually, speaking of that, the 4K camera that is in my printer head, my nozzle cam, is a USB cable. That has a silicone outer sleeve on it, and inside of it, it does have the PFEI wiring covering on that. So those wires should last pretty well. That one is made for that. Hey everyone, Collie05, how are we doing today? NUNO, yep, it's a downside, but USB is faster, more reliable. I agree. They were heated on CAN bus because the boards are not designed to dissipate heat, or the copper layers in them are a little bit thin. I can share more on this later. News at 11. John is probably 100% correct on that. I will say PCBs have gotten cheap. There was a day when copper on PCBs were actually had a thickness to them. Now they're almost the thickness of, they're measured in microns. And there again, you can have multi-layered PCB boards. A lot of the PC boards that we're seeing in this hobby are made for the least amount of money possible. So having a thicker amount of copper on that to help dissipate heat would definitely help. And I think that's what John is alluding to. The 2240 is supposed to be more efficient and doesn't get as hot as 2209. That's kind of what I had heard too. Don't you still need 24 volts though? Yes. You run USB or you run CAN bus and then you run your voltage up to your tool head. You do still need 24 volts for your heater on your nozzle. Let's see here. Let's see, 8 tool changes X, Y, 3 or 4 Z, 3 or 4 X extruder. Cool. John Puma, so you don't recommend the EBB36. You're opening a can of worms. You know, I'm sure John has a very, very, very opinionated opinion about that. So I'm gonna get back now over to this. I've caught up with you guys, and that is not the one I wanted. I want the one with the chatties. So stand by. Let's go to this camera now with the overhead. All right, so we're talking about the LDO kit and how everything on it I have enjoyed and have not had any issues. I do have one issue with the LDO kit, or one that I can think of right at the moment, and it is universal in terms of when you buy kits, and that is the additional parts that they give you to make the kit easier to build. Let's see here. The extra PCBs they give you, for instance, the one back here, which you can't see. Can I move this far enough? Yep. Right back here it's underneath this. Anyways, there's a PCB right back here for connecting the lighting system that they also give you. So both of your strips come together and you have a single 2-wire going down to your controller to control those lights. That one is fine. It's very simple. It's easy to figure out. It basically just splices your wiring together. My problem is, and again, it's a me problem, and I totally understand that it's a me problem, is having to do with how heavy this thing is. No, it would not be good if I ripped the, oh, I got to do something first. I have this very fancy special bed that is not nailed down because it does not get nailed down. I'm gonna move this. My problem with the kit, or kits in general actually, but more so with this kit because it's a higher end kit, and I do that with air quotes that you're not seeing, is the one part of the mess back here. I haven't cleaned it up. We're going to talk about that a little bit too. Is the breakout boards they give you, such as this guy over here. And I know it's kind of far away to look at, but basically you have your multi-connector that comes in, connects into a breakout board, and then you breakout board into here. And my issue is twofold. One is I believe that complicates the build tremendously because now you need to basically figure out where your pins are coming out on this board. And yes, they are labeled, but if your eyes are anything over 35, it's very difficult to read. Two, you're introducing additional failure points. Anytime you have a wire that is connected to a connector and going to another connector, that's another failure point. I would have liked it better if they had not made it easier by basically extending the primary harness here and making it so I could have connected directly to the board. I could extend the wires, but then I'm really not saving anything because I still have failure points because now I've extended all my wires. But this breakout board, to make things easier, I don't feel makes things easier. So that being said, if you were to buy an LDO kit such as this one or something similar that came with a breakout board, you may want to consider either building your own harness, which is a very good training exercise. And I do call it a training exercise because it does take a lot of effort, but you will learn a lot when you're doing that. Or purchasing an aftermarket primary harness to connect directly to your board without going through a jump spot. Let me check the information here, see what everybody else is saying. Let's see here. Really great to watch. Build a Basement, Golden Jaguar, First Light KB3. Really a great crew of builders. Thank you, 3D Life. I appreciate that. Let's see. John, wait. If I could zoom in on this, I'd probably figure out a way, but I'm not gonna put that much effort in. It says here, excuse me, I'm a little taken aback. NUNO at Build a Basement is correct. Wow. I want to take a moment of silence. Okay. I'm a little biased since I am involved with the Huvid team. I can't pronounce that. However, we put the EEB boards, the SHT boards, and the Huvid side by side in closed machines. Both the EBB and the SHT board overheated, poor design, and it was good to 80 degrees Celsius. All good information. John, what about the what's the other one called? What's this one called? What about the mellows? These guys. I got some of these. I'm not using them, but the flies. What do you think about those, John? To tie you back in the conversation. Teza can has been a standard for cars the last 20 years. Manufacturing for even longer. I do agree with that, Teza. We use CAN bus on very reliable machinery. It needs 5 nines of uptime, but we do that. We use CAN bus for connecting equipment over distances that are much longer than a meter or two. A meter or two of saved watt. Usually use CAN bus to save cabling, which in part reduces the amount of failure points you have because you don't have so many wires. But when you're dealing with something where the wiring is only going, you know, roughly a meter, 3 feet or so, it's kind of silly to me. It's an opinion. Let's see here. Mine does get warm 70 S. John Beamer, good to know. Going to search above. Nick laughing. Mellow boards are this SHT he referenced. Okay, cool. I didn't know that. Did not know that. Don't open up the mellow can of worms with me. Does anybody remember Mellow Yellow, the drink? It's like Mountain Dew that was like flatter. Parts are Mellow Fly SHT XYZ. Is it? Fly SB 2040. That's not what mine says. VORON SB 2040 version 1. Actually, I can do it right here. It's a little bit different, right? Yeah, okay. You can still buy it here. Mellow Yellow, cool. You drink it? So anyways, getting back to this right here. So the LDO kit came with the Meanwell power supply. It did not come with a 5-volt power supply. I totally forgot about that until I just saw that. The expectation for the LDO kit is that you pull your 5 volts off of your Octopus, which does have the ability to provide 5 volts. That could be a mixed bag. That's up to you if you wanted to do that. But depending on what you feel and how much current you're pulling and any other accessories you're running on there, you may want to think once or twice about what you're doing there. I did opt to put a 5-volt power supply in there, a Meanwell power supply. I think in the long run, it's probably going to last longer than any 5-volt regulator that is built onto the Octopus board. It is about, I don't know, 300 times bigger than the power or the voltage regulator that's on the Octopus board because it's meant to last a long time and do good things. They gave us a non-branded, actually no, it's an Omron. Okay, so the SSR is an Omron, which is good. Nothing wrong there. And the Raspberry Pi was mine. It did not come with one, so keep that in mind if you do buy an LDO kit. As of right now, April 2023, they do not come with Raspberry Pis or other computers to put inside here. And I'm calling it a computer because that's what it is. Darn it. And all the other bad words I won't say. Yeah, so fans. So the LDO kit came with fans. They have their own branded fans. I have a strong inkling that they're rebranded fans. I have not taken the opportunity or the time to look into that or dig into that very far. But they are basic dual bearing fans, if I'm not mistaken, not maglev or anything like that, depending on what kind of flavor you like. The tone on the fans is kind of lower than some of the maglev fans, which have a higher pitch sound to them. So that's kind of good for me, at least. I don't like the high pitch sounding fans. Let's while we're down here, just for shits and giggles, let's pull that off. And I'm having trouble with that 4K cam. I'm gonna look into that, but I'm just gonna plug that Logitech in real quick. So anyways, yeah, Wagos, the LDO kit does not come with Wagos. It comes with terminal blocks. I'm not a big fan of terminal blocks in general. Some people are not a fan of Wagos. Wagos may not be acceptable for high current or high voltages in your jurisdiction. However, they are acceptable here. And you could probably argue what's acceptable for building code may not apply directly to what's acceptable in a piece of equipment that is not inside of a wall and is accessible for repair. So something you may want to consider or not, that's up to you. Yeah, so those are the things that came with the LDO kit for the most part. So let's talk a little bit about the extra stuff that I put into this. We already talked about the 5-volt power supply. We talked about the Wagos real briefly. Raspberry Pi, not really much to say about that. But I'm gonna flip this thing back over and try not to hurt myself or the printer in the process, and talk a little bit about the bed and some other things up here. So let's do that. And to do that, let's go back to this. And let's catch up with this stuff first here. Quick, I'm gonna search about mellow. Yep. Still buy it here. Different product. Build it. You just have one of the newer ones, just like the new EBB 240. Oh, okay, got it. I also have an EBB 240. So funny thing is, I'm not using Canon on this printer, and that's a conscious decision I've made. And it's mostly because I didn't want to complicate something that I think is already kind of complicated. So this video and this series of videos, for the most part, is meant for somebody to kind of, work their way through building a printer and possibly help somebody that may have gotten lost in the process, because I think there's way too many videos out there. Whoop, I'm headless. There's way too many videos out there of people that build things too quickly and talk to chat rooms like this. No offense to y'all, but this does not always make the best video watching experience for somebody watching after fact. It's great for, for the chat and for talking to people, not necessarily great for people watching in the future. But so yeah, I have, what do I have here? This is a U2C version 2.1. I have that. I have, that's a filament runout sensor. We'll talk about that some other time. What is this? This is an SB2209. There, okay. I have another UC2 version 2.1. I have double wings of mellow flies. And what are these? These are UTO3 for the flies. So basically the interconnects, I have two of the interconnects for the flies, two interconnects for the big 3-tech version. And at current, none of them are in a printer. And I will, we'll get into CAN at some point here in the not so distant future in a different video. So let's see here. I love mellow yellow, but killed my kidneys. Mellowed out your kidneys. It's usually alcohol that kills a kidney. What were you mixing with that mellow yellow? That's what I want to ask. Yeah. Poor boy enjoying food did not kill the kidneys. All right. DJ Natty. Yeah. I always have problems with undervolting with drawing power over two thicker plus positive cables to the Octopus to my Raspberry Pi 4B. When I have a DSI display connected, my Octopus do only like 4.9 to 5.6 on load. And that is probably because the voltage regulator on Octopus is trying its dangdest to provide that 5 volts, and it's struggling to do it. I would suggest that you, if it's really a problem and you want to solve it, is to get a separate 5-volt power source. You could do a couple different things, but the meanwhiles you can get for like 20 bucks on Amazon, probably worldwide. around about $20 US. So whatever that converts into whatever country you're in, is probably about what that costs, and that will solve that problem, and it will last way longer than anything or any voltage regulator that's built onto a board. There's only so much you can do with silicon. See, the wiring could be a bit better. Yeah, this is temporary. This is me sorting through and kind of working through some clipper stuff that I wanted to talk about before this video, so it's all thrown in there. It's also for tracing. I may do a separate video talking about these wires and talking about a little bit more in depth as to what I was talking about with the breakout board. I wanted to talk to you guys tonight, though. It's been a while. Let's see here. In Canada, Wago does not pass electrical code. It is considered a fire hazard. I will say I've used them in the past until the electrician saw one in my printers and pointed it out. Wago continued. I pointed out insurance can void your claim if they contribute your house fire to a printer. So none of the printers that we're building or any of the kits that we have, maybe with the exception of the Prusas, which are already kind of partially built, are going to be CE or UL listed or anything like that. The individual parts might be, but for the most part, most of these parts are coming from China, so they're not UL listed. Some of them may be CE listed. If all the parts inside of the printer are UL or CE listed, and that flies with your jurisdiction, and the wiring or the connection types that you're using with the wiring, the gauge of the wiring, I mean, you're starting really to split hairs here at some point. There's a better chance that you have a controller that goes crazy and somehow catches something on fire, that's using a heater, than the wiring shorting out. 5 volts on the wrong gauge of wire with enough current can start a fire. So you could start a fire with a 9-volt battery and some, what do you call that stuff? Not aluminum, aluminum foil. Yeah, you can start a fire with a 9-volt battery and aluminum foil. But anyways, electricity, be careful. What's the problem with Wagos? I think, the problem with Wagos is just basically whether or not somebody accepts them as being good or not. I don't think there is a problem with Wagos. I think there is a problem with wire nuts, to be honest. Wire nuts destroy the wires. They actually do not have any type of real binding action other than the fact that you're supposed to twist the wires together first and then put the wire nut on second to protect that connection. But a lot of people do not twist those wires together first. So, what are you going to do? It's a 110 situation problem. What Wagos is North America. Is it a 110 situation problem? It could be. Wagos usually rate up to about 300 volts. Of course, the lower the voltage, 110 versus 220 or 230, requires double the current. It's actually a misnomenclature. Steel wool! Steel wool! Thank you, Rich. Exactly. Yeah, we've both been watching MacGyver in our day, huh? Yeah, so in the United States and North America in general, we actually have 220 systems that come to almost every single home. It's spread up in 2 legs. It's 2 legs and a neutral and a earth ground, called earth, not ground, right, John? And so we have the ability to have 220 or 110. Individual outlets on a house are usually 110 just because it is deemed to be safer, which it is not really. It's more about the current than it is about the voltage. So yeah, it's not that, I don't think. I think Wagos are rated up to 300 volts. I think it's just time and what's been around for how long. The interesting thing about North America is it is nowhere near as old as most of Europe, or all of Europe, to be honest. But Europe, because of, and I say this, it's really kind of a bad time to say this type of thing, but Europe has rebuilt more recently than North America because of, war. World War II, World War I, those types of things really demolished lots of parts of, Europe in general. And when things got rebuilt, things actually get upgraded quicker. North America probably has a lot more aging infrastructure than a lot of some of those European countries. We always kind of joke about how poor our internet is in the United States. I don't know about Canada. I'm not going to talk bad about something I don't know about, because somebody will razz me about it. But in the United States, we invented the internet, supposedly. You could argue about that, and I don't want to. But we also have a monopoly in most locations for internet. So our internet speeds tend to be some of the lowest in in the world in terms of nations that are well-to-do. How about that? It's so hard to talk to so many people and not want to say the wrong things. Okay, so higher currents, yes, aka higher currents, yes, exactly. Lower the voltage, the higher the current to get the same amount of work done. I always tell people to think of electricity like water. You can have a really wide river, and inside that river, the water doesn't have to flow so quick, and you get X amount of water going through it. You could take that river and notch it down a lot and still pass the same amount of water through it, but it's going to be rushing a hell of a lot more strongly to get where it needs to go to pass the same amount of water. Electricity is the same thing. Let's see. DeWitt, Tim, my friend, how you doing? Oh, good thing I checked in. First saw you on LOL. Good evening. Thing I checked first and I saw you on. Oh, you're gonna come on. You were gonna do something. Your beacon showed up. That's gonna be a good one. Tim, let me know if you're gonna go on after this. I plan on going probably for another half hour or so. I just want to get through some of this printer stuff. If you are, and if I can, I will send everybody over to you after this. If you can send me a link to that if you're going to do that, okay? One of those things that people do. Let's see here. Tesla, $20 US equals $30 Australian. Oh, it's about the same Canadian money too. 20 is about 30, I believe. A lot of Canadian people here probably correct that, but I think it's pretty close to that. Yes, you can use the 5 volt for chamber lights if you wish. You can buy LED lighting at 5 volt. You guys are talking so much. I love it. 5 volt lighting, 12 volt lighting. You can get addressable lighting. I know a guy that's going to have addressable lights inside of his printer because he's super cool. And he has big plans for it. I might do that eventually. Might be an upgrade. All the things that didn't go in this printer are going to go in the upgrade of the other one. So that's going to be fun. Let's see here. They are all CE for sure. China export. Yes. If you want to call it CE like that. Yes. Steel 9 volt and steel, yes. What? I can get CSA approved Wagos, which are fine. Really? You should talk to John. Poor boy, I can start a fire with a spearmint bubblegum wrapper, toilet paper, and a AA battery. Yeah, that's because that wrapper has aluminum foil in it. We just talked about this. And toilet paper is because it makes awesome kindling. Pine needles as well, because I live up here in Maine. MacGyver or MacGrubber. I'd rather watch MacGyver than MacGrubber. Not the new MacGyver, the old school MacGyver from like the 80s. That was way better. Let's see here. John Beamer. My house was built in 1954. My house was built in 1954 and I can still see traces of cloth encased in encased wires. Yeah, I believe it. Yeah. Might have some asbestos in there too. One of the primary exports of Canada during the 40s was asbestos. Tefford Mines area, I believe. Maybe. Nick, who's MacGrubber? MacGrubber's a movie. It's a comedy version of MacGyver. Yeah. I'm going to skip the John Beamer one from Nick. Are you using the daylight LED PCB? Daylight LED PCB. I'm not sure exactly what that is. The PCBs for my LEDs came directly from LDO. I'm going to flip this over as soon as I get done reading these ones, and then we're going to talk about some of the upgrades. I do have some upgraded LEDs in this and some other parts too from KB3D. Let's see here. SNL, parody of MacGruber. Yes. Bag of chips work fine as far as... When did this turn into the Pyro podcast or YouTube? By the way, my videos are available as a podcast. There's a new YouTube thing you can do. So I guess you could probably download them or something if you want to watch me on the go and not use data, right? I was looking for a good mount with diffusers so I don't get blinded. Does anyone know of a good one for the daylight LEDs? Okay, non-fam. We'll go into my LEDs on the inside. It might help you out. I don't know. Non-fam, hey. That's all you're going to do is like stick out your tongue at us? Come on. How to burn your house down 101. John Beamer, LOL. All right. Whew. I need some more caffeine. You guys are going nuts. John, why don't you tell us all how to burn down the house with 9-volt battery in a mellow CAN bus unit. We can do that, right? All right. All right, so let me get this thing flipped over. And in the process, maybe break a couple things, right? Because then you guys can watch me fix them if you want. All right. And actually, before I put this bed back down on this, I don't know which camera's gonna be better. No, maybe. Yeah, we'll go back to this guy. This wide area shot is looking a little bit better. So upgrades that didn't come with the LDO kit. My LDO bed went to a very, very, very good cause. It went to the first layer for his dedication build. The LDO bed was thicker than this Mandela rose bed, but this Mandela rose bed is very special. This basically has in it magnets, neodymium magnets that are in, I want to say impregnated, but I don't even know if that's politically correct anymore to say that. They're basically they're applied within the metal of this bed to provide the magnetic surface for this bed, and it does two things. One is it's extremely strong, it's extremely clean, and basically it allows my print surface, whether I wanted to apply something directly to this or if I put another surface on this, to sit perfectly flat on this bed. And now I have a layer of 3M rumble magnet below it, because those magnets are not very flat. If you ever looked at one and put it on a flat surface and shine light, you can, unless you heat it up and mess with it, you'll see it's not very flat. This is as flat can be for the money that I spent on it, because nothing is perfectly flat and there's never a straight line. So yeah, so I do think that this was a good upgrade, simply because I like the idea of eliminating issues before they happen, if it's something that you know could happen. So this bed is mounted with a kinematic mounting system, also by Mandela Rose, and that has a 3-point system on here with 3 different types of mounting points. One is a roller wheel, so it allows the bed to move left or right on the x-axis. The front one can move in any direction to a certain extent, and then we have the one on the rear right, which basically allows for rotational force but does not allow it to move left or right or front and back. Those 3 combine to basically have a bed that can expand and contract without putting additional strains or stresses on the bed, which could cause it to warp over time or quickly, depending on how quickly you want to heat your bed or how quickly you want to restore your printer. So I have that on there, and I'm kind of still out on that. I may have to do some experimentation with that off the bed and mounting my bed directly, as called out by the VORON team. And my issue is I'm not getting the consistency I want out of my tap probe. There could be obviously other things that are causing that, but the easiest thing for me to test, and the biggest thing that I kind of, I'm kind of thinking might be it could be, that it takes a little bit of, or quite a bit of force to cause this to bounce around. And I'm sure you guys are loving the sound of that. I don't know if the mic is canceling out or not, but that's enough for this unit, this optical sensor, to register that. I think. I'm told not, but seems to me otherwise, but I won't know for sure until I test it. And it's kind of, again, back to the whole hobby versus professional thing. I test it for myself, and my testing will be one printer, whereas if I was doing this professionally, I would be doing this with multiple printers, and it would basically have a lot more information to work with. I'm working with what I have at hand. So that's the bed, that's the mount. So the mount I'm kind of out on right now. They do make outriggers for them to widen that out a little bit. I don't necessarily think that would help the process. I think that would help with the fact that you can do this. Not so much on the other sides, but this front right is very easy to move. And that's more or less because of how things are. But I think it might be just the fact that the bed can move quite a bit. So yeah, so we'll have to, once I have final information on that, I will be sharing that with all of you, and I'll also share it with I forget the gentleman. I'm sure John can let me know the gentleman's name. Wade, I think it is. Is it Wayne or Wade? Over at Mandela, because products there are awesome. The machining on everything is beautiful, but not so sure about that. And let's play a little quick catch up here. Catch up. Let's see here, PCB, yep. It's probably what you have. It's PCB LEDs. Yes, I do have PCBs with the LEDs in it. I'll talk about those in a second. And the LDO manual, I can show you that in a little bit, and I can try to leave a link in the description of the video. Have these guides that that basically have 90 degrees blocking on them. So basically the light is able to go down at a 45-degree angle, and the lights are placed at a 45-degree angle. So unless you come over at an angle like this or over this, you're not really going to see them dead on. You may see reflections of them or something. Another thing you could possibly do is just turn them down a little bit. How bright do you really need them? My other printer doesn't have lights in it. I mean, there's lights on your, if you do a stealth burner, there's gonna be lights on that, so. Let's see here, John Bymer, cloth wiring from the 50s. Yes, I'm born in the city of asbestos. I now live in Thetford Mines. Thetford Mines, one of my uncles currently lives in Thetford Mines. My uncle Mario from St. George, Quebec, now is in Thetford Mines. He works for a company that does fine woodwork. He does, I believe, does finishing work for them. So yeah, awesome. Small world, huh? Yeah, that is Tim. He burns things down. Okay. If I work at all, I probably share a photo of the asbestos. Yeah. You can share the photo. Don't share the actual asbestos, please. When I was younger, my brother almost burned our garage down with tons of inflammable stuff around. Thankfully, it was not too bad. Tons of inflammable. I think that's wrong. Della Beds Kinematics, better known as the Kelvin system. F incredible. Okay. I wouldn't trust it. Okay. I don't know what poor boy doesn't trust, but oh, the wiring, I'm guessing, right? DJ Natty, that's why speed tube printer Kinematic bed mount gets lucid instead of tap. Yeah. You know, it's, again, this is my ultimate build, and it's probably gonna change over time. We'll see. That tipping can happen on any 3-point mounting system. I totally agree with you. I'm not blaming the Mandela mounting system, John, at all. It's just a kinematics thing in general. I never had a kinematics mount. I wanted to try it. You know, and again, you and I have talked about this. It's something I want to try, and I'm doing it because some people are interested in it. Some people may not try it because of the cost. I'm trying it. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, not so great. It'll be my opinion. It'll be my personal experience with my personal printer. Let's see here. Tipping can happen. I like the whooping card mounts because they have a spring steel hold downs that still function as a kinematic bed. I've seen those, Woody, and I agree with that. It wouldn't allow the bed to move completely like this is, but any movement at all with a tap, meaning that basically, I mean, we're talking about 1/1000th of a millimeter, in less than that really, is enough to basically make it so that this does a whole nother round when it's doing a quad gantry leveling. So it might make sense to have that solid, is all I'm saying. I did research in the beginning. I asked, I said, you know, is this going to work with the tap? And vendors said yes. You know, manufacturers say yes. I'm saying maybe. I did do a quad gantry leveling that came out at perfect. I think it was 7 zeros. I don't know how far out it goes. 0, 0, and 5 zeros. But that was a one-time thing. It was kind of a fluke because it's been all over the place. Let's see here. It would be great to share a link for that. I made one mount for the V0 if you're lazy. Okay, let me make a note on my whiteboard right here. I'm gonna write, let's see, printer LEDs, mount, NUNO, okay. Hopefully I don't forget that. If I do, I'm pretty dumb. Let's see here. Zexolator 21. Did you see Voron's RMM RF teaser video for the V24 with the stealth burn and tap? I don't recall. Maybe. It's not ringing a bell. John, I built it. I know you're not blaming it. I just pointed it out. Used it on several machines. Yeah. It's also used on rat rig machines, pretty much exclusively. So it's a very popular method, and it has, you know, it definitely has its reasons to do it. But could it be done better? Possibly. Do some manufacturers make them differently? Yes. Getting back to Woody's thing, because I got pulled away a little quickly on that. When that moves, that any movement at all is going to cause it to mess up, and that spring holding it in is just going to stop it from falling apart completely. But once it moves, it's moving. It's too late. Let's see here. Build a basement. Oh, LOL. I wanted to say flammable, mixed English word in Portuguese. Haha. Well, I'll have to learn some Portuguese. I like to learn a little bit about the people and where they're from. So I will learn a couple Portuguese words, and I will throw them in next time I see you in one of my things. And if I don't, you can yell at me, curse at me in Portuguese next time. Stephen, evening to you. Let's see here. Woody, well, see, getting in the 350 up and running with tap. So, Woody, are you doing the kinematics? I will mention something about that, and John has opinions, so I'm going to let John probably throw something in. The larger the bed, the easier it is to have a kinematic system and a tap, because the forces become more spread out. When I talked to Mandela Roseworks, specifically, he told me that on a 350 and 300, the outriggers were not required or even needed, or, you know, were kind of a waste. But he makes them because people like how nice his stuff looks, and some people want to buy them. And, you know, maybe that would help me on this 300. But on the 250, it was 100% recommended that you get the outriggers. So 350 might work a little bit better for you. Let's see here. It's not going to work with new beta tap or 4-magnet mod taps, them needing kilograms on pushing force. Yeah, that would not be good. This is actually quite a bit, but let's see here. That's for sure. I saw Z lead screws, dual extruder head, tap, interesting things to come. Awesome. Do it. It's a ball screw. I think it's insane. Want to build one? Haha. I'll build one. I'll build damn near anything. Building these things is fun. All right, got to get through the rest of the stuff so we can talk about the stuff I've added on this and whether or not I like it or not. John, VMware does not use Kelvin. They use the Maxwell system. They've messed it up bad, hence why vCore suffers from Z wobble. I would have thought the Z wobble came from those lead screws, but okay. Yeah, normally it comes from lead screws. It's where you hear about Z wobble mostly. And I will do a little research and look at the difference between a Kelvin system, which is what this is, and a Maxwell system. I'm assuming the Maxwell system is the system of using the edges or near edge of the printer versus the system that we have here. And I'm sure it probably has something to do with the actual mounting surfaces of the balls. Yeah. Oi, Nuno, como via? Yeah. Sounds like Spanish and Portuguese are very close, and I know none of either. Wow, that's kind of a lie. I know a little bit of about 6 languages. That has a customer's request back a couple years, inspired the RCF. Careful to do the V2. Okay. DJ, sheer size, one about. Okay, I gotta get through this. 24-inch cube. I feel a bit of anything for me. Same amigo. His friend. Don't see why kilograms force on tap. Don't see why it would need kilograms of force on tap. Yeah, I don't think kilograms of force on a nozzle, if it's brass, is a good idea no matter what. But that's neither here nor there. I'm good, friend. Okay, yes. Not even sure what you mean by outriggers and kinematics. However, I do like magnetic build plate a lot. Yeah, poor boy was like, his jaw dropped when he saw this bed. So that means poor boy's not watching my videos. I'll watch your videos. We have words. Just kidding. So kinematics is basically we could talk about, so I'll talk to you about it separately, or go back and watch one of my videos. I have a whole video about the kinematic stuff. Maxwell uses twin dowels. Yes, each of which are 3 points. I can show you later. So there's twin dowels on the back left mounting point for this. Strong right side. Nick Tesla sounds like they're working new version of tap. Well, that is more like a hammer. Is it a Canadian hammer? I don't know. And I think Rich fell asleep, by the way, everybody. Poor boy, he busted you later. Yeah, okay. Shawdell is shown up about, what, 3/4 through the stream? Never too late, though, right? Always thought Maxwell was smart. Only us old farts get it. Maxwell's smart. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not an old fart. I look younger than I am, but I know who Maxwell Smart is. He's Dick Tracy's younger cousin. So, all right, so we talked about the bed, the Mandela bed, we talked about the kinematic system. Nuno was talking about the LEDs, which came with this LDO kit. They're on strip form, and I pay homage, and I have much love, and I send best wishes to the people that removed the backing on the strips on these. If you built an LDO printer, they're adhesive. You don't need to do that. Please don't. You're going to make yourself more work than you need to. And I will try to get those in the comments, or in the description of the video. So there's that. I have jump right into this here, into something that I am still out on. I'm probably 60-40 on the backers. And I'm only 60-40 as opposed to 50-50 because I think they look cool. Other than them looking cool, I'd be 50-50 on whether or not they're going to do much for me. There is no doubt that the frame and mechanisms within the printer will bend over time due to me not... Right there. Now, here we go. There's no doubt that the aluminum frame on this printer and the steel linear rails are going to have stresses on them that bend them over time, and they may or may not come back to true over time as well when they cool off and when they heat up and contract and expand, contract and expand. It's just the physics of the whole thing. Whether or not the titanium backers are going to do much to fix that, I'm kind of out on. I don't necessarily, and this is a touch point for me, and I've told other people this, and I may have mentioned it in a video, but the way that titanium backers are currently installed on the printer and the way that they function is a little backwards from the way I think they should. Although I do not have the methodology, nor do I have the equipment to do any real testing to prove that point. So it's really a moot point at that point. So I do not go with it. So I will tell you what it is and why I think it is the way it is. Right now, backers are literally on the back side of where the linear rail is. And that is to help with the expansion contraction of the metals, the bi-metal connection point, where basically the aluminum and the steel will both expand at different rates when it heats up. The titanium backer is meant to stop that from happening to some extent. And the way that, as they are set on the printer currently, they're directly, 180 degrees off of where the linear rail is. And the thought process is, and I say thought process because I'm still out on it, and I know there's probably literature and there's proof of this, but still, you look hard enough, you can prove anything. Is that the titanium backers are basically, when the metal expands, because there are so many holes in these, they kind of hold us from moving very much on the out or in movement of the actual extrusion. So they kind of tie it together. My first thought on that is, normally, if you have an object that you want to make more solid, is you turn it on its side. So if I'm worried about this bowing like this, so basically an arch here, and I'm really exaggerating, obviously it's never going to do this, and if it did, it probably is, you probably have a house on fire. But if you're trying to stop it from bowing this way, you'd want to use the thickness of this material to kind of stop it from doing that. You have a torsion, or not necessarily a torsion, but a compression situation there. where basically, you know, it's kind of like if you take a popsicle stick and you hold it flat, you can easily bend it. You know, it bends pretty easily. If you hold it on its side, it doesn't bend so easy. So I don't know. I still, in my mind, and I could be completely wrong, feel that they should go 90 degrees offset from the linear rails, but there's no way to do that on the printer. Maybe that's why they go 180 degrees, because there's no way to mount them 90 degrees without basically being right up against your side panels or up against your gantry here, your X rail. I'm still, like I said, I'm 60/40 on those. I'm not 100%, but they do look cool, so I got that. Other purchased goods that are in here that are a little bit upgrade, the 2-part PCB up here. I'm good with that, more so than I am with the PCB that's down inside of the printer, because there are fewer connections here in terms of how far they are, and they're more easy to trace. And I think it's better mapped on this Lineo unit than it is on the LDO unit that's inside the printer. This is a 2-part, 2-piece board, so basically you got a motherboard, if you will, and then a daughter board that's connected via a multi-pin connector on the front that slides together, and that seems to work pretty well. On top of that, I have the Fadus Dragon in here, which did not come with the kit. It did not come with a hot end, if I recall correctly. It may have, I don't believe it did. It might come with a Dragonfly. I don't know what it came with. I don't think it came with one. But that's definitely a good hot end from everything I can see. If you aren't into buying Chinese parts, yeah, well, first of all, if you're not into buying Chinese parts, good luck in the 3D printing community. You're gonna be hard pressed to find your parts that don't, you know, have some type of connection to China. So I've gotten over that, and it's not a problem for me. So I do like that. I also have a slice in my other printer that's behind me. I also have a Revo in my VORON 0. I do think the Revo is easy to push to its limits. So there's that, but I think it's also very light and small, so it works really well in the V0. So that's that. The 4K camera in here from E3D, 3DO, sorry. I don't have anything negative to say about that, although right now I'm having an issue with it. I don't know if it's overheated or if it's my ribbon cable. I was able to route my ribbon cable for that, so I can mount my my board for that on the back side as opposed to sticking on the sides, which is what they kind of want you to do. They want you to use the mount they have for the 80XL here. I didn't like that idea. I want to be able to mount my 80XL where the 80XL goes. If I decide I want to do it, but this also looks pretty dang clean without anything on it, so I like that. Tap is not part of the actual manual, but it is a VORON supplied build. And when I say that, I mean that they provide instructions and a BOM for that. I do, thus far, think tap is working pretty well. I like the idea of having my nozzle be my X probe. I think that's very smart. I think it's very good. I think it eliminates a lot of issues. And let's take a look at chat real quick, because I'm sure I'm way behind again. Let's see here. Let's go to, where is it? Let's see. $2, NUNO, Shawdell. Let's see here, Nick. Watch your videos, have missed. I watch your videos. I have missed that one though. Sorry, usually post when I'm at work. I'll watch it, I promise. How can I, oh wait, I do post when you're at work. I post when you're at work. So I post most of my videos, and I guess this goes out to everybody that's interested. I post most of my videos around 11 o'clock on days, because that tends to be the best time to post them for getting the best YouTube feedback in the algorithm. It's the only reason I do it. I usually record my videos on Tuesday when I can do it on a schedule on Tuesday, and then post them on a Wednesday or Wednesday on a Thursday. And I do that because I don't edit my videos. They are all live cut. Very rarely will I pause a video for any reason, because if I make a mistake, I want to work my way through that mistake. So yeah, it takes YouTube about, I don't know, a lifetime to process 4K video. I've chosen to make my videos in 4K so they possibly are more relevant moving forward, even though a lot of the content won't necessarily be. But my alter reason for making my videos is so my kids and my family to come can look back and see their crazy old dad when he wasn't crazy or old, or maybe just wasn't old, he was just crazy. Oh, let's see here. That had no sound. Let's see. Let's see here. I put backers on my 2.4 last night. I'm sorry. Hopefully I didn't make scare you out of it. If for nothing else, I mean, they're not going to hurt anything. You know, you got that. They have a marginal amount of weight. That's about it. At least the backers will stop the dust from getting into your rails. Yes, that is true. That is true, I guess. That view had no sound. I don't know which view that was, but quite possibly that's true if it's one I didn't necessarily want to use. They work better if you put them, if you get them in a pretty color. That is 110% true. They are 5 times more effective when you get patterns and designs on the backers. If you just get the plain titanium ones, they only work about 10%. Let's see here. Let's see here. DeWitt 3D Canada BR549. Not sure where that conversation's come from, but hey, sounds good to me. Ideally, backers would be the same material on the outside, sandwich dissimilar metal in the middle. Yeah, I can't argue that because I just don't know. I can see where that would come out though, and I would assume that the reason why that's not done normally is just because of weight. If they could make a hardened, or if somebody could make a titanium with a little bit of nickel cobalt in them or something on the linears, that would be awesome. I'm sure maybe somebody is making them and they probably cost $1,000 a piece, but yeah, weight is kind of one of those things that we try to keep down at least a little bit on the gantry, if we're able to. Let's see here. What did I miss? LOL, good, because I didn't know what he was talking about either. Junior Samples phone number. Okay, not sure still. Are you talking about the American country rock band? I don't know. I think backers should be definitely work. At least people say they do. I can definitely tell my x-axis changes shape a lot when printing ABS for a couple of hours. Yeah, so I was talking to somebody last night, and there's actually a software version of backers that basically looks at your chamber temperature and using, I guess, logarithmic data, basically extrapolates how much bend you're going to have based on a temperature, based on a time period in your rail. And that might be just as good as anything else, because we are already using a bed mesh to compensate for bed things. So having software compensate for rails slightly tweaking, maybe that's just as good. We'll see. There is a Git on that. Maybe I'll add that to the conversation via the description of the video. If anybody's interested in that, just let me know. If I forget, leave me a comment. And that goes for NUNO too. If I forget, leave me a comment, because I will see that comment and it will remind me to do the printer LEDs mounts from LDO. Let's see here. Print right away, my mesh is always a lot different. Yeah, C-kits come from Revo Vorons with a blue top. C-kits come with Revo Vorons with a blue top. C-kits. Oh, C-kits. Okay, so the LDO version C. I had to figure out what you're talking about. Cool. That's good to know. And there's nothing wrong with the Revo. Revo is a good hot end. Actually, I got my Revo. Yep. I just got in. A couple days ago, got in my Revo. Obsidian, is that how you say it? That is the 0.4 version. And yep. And that one is going to focus eventually, the 0.6 version. So that will be fun to play with and see what we can do with that. Maybe using some I got some carbon fiber polycarbonate I'm going to play with that. Make sure I put these back in the right boxes here. Yep. But yeah, Rio is a good hot end. Let's see, poor boy at NUNO noticed a lot of heat gets through the extrusions to where the plastic is for the motor screws on the Trident. Does anyone know where you can purchase a polyamide heater for Melinda Roseworks bed for VORON 2.4? I just don't think I should try to remove one that came with the LDO kit. Polyamide heater for... I do not. Maybe somebody else does. With 2 kilograms of, I'm assuming, force, more like smash than tap. Yeah, I agree with that. I think maybe somebody put a decimal point in the wrong spot. Yeehaw. Let's see. I've seen about that before. It's a script of some sort. Yes, you know that it is a script. It's very similar to a bed mesh, only it's for the you know, for basically a digital backers, if you will. All right, so kind of wrap this up a little bit about this printer, and then maybe just talk about a couple other things real quick before we finish this off, running into this here. I have the, I keep calling it the unicorn barf, but it's actually the rainbow barf on this printer. The front LED here in the Voron logo Z, styled Z. Behind there I have the Lineo smoked version of the transparent plastic for that, so it looks kind of black on the front. If I was real nice, I'd go get a camera and show you that. It's going to be a little bit far away to see it. You know what? Why don't we do this? Why don't I, because I am nice, why don't I do this and go change this camera a little bit. We'll zoom in a little bit on this because I do like my colors and I do like my printer. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we zoomed in from afar. So there's the backer here, as opposed to being printed with PETG, is a Lineo version that is a smoked plastic. Makes it look nice when it's off. And behind that, we do have the rainbow barf that's going to be fun to play with. I already talked about the 4K camera. I do have the Lineo harness that included the LEDs, the Neo lights. I forget what they're called. Down there on the bottom. I already talked about the Logitech camera up here, and for a bed. For my scrub back here, I really like this thing, and we're gonna have to switch cameras for my nozzle scrubber. Nozzle scrubber down this area where I have my Wagos for my bed, so my bed's a quick disconnect. I have this is a Rama design, and basically you have a retainer for your wiring that goes in like that, and then you have a cover plate to cover your Wagos, and then finally you have your purge bucket with scrubber on it, and your bed goes like that. So you got your scrub, you got your purge, and then this comes right out when you want to clean it. This is printed in ASA, just because I felt like ABS and PLA and PETG probably won't stick to it as well as it would if it was a like plastic. It's the only thing I printed on this printer with ASA. Another reason for that is the fact that it is pretty much touching the bed, and ASA buys me another 5 or 10 degrees of a heat buffer for that before that starts to warp and deform like it would if it was ABS. Let's see, panels. Oh, we got to talk about panels. Oh, this I want to talk about real quick. Yeah, we still got plenty of people on here. This is awesome, you guys. I love this. I'm gonna come back over to this camera. Let's see, main with chat. I'm gonna push this guy back real quick. A UPS, okay? You can buy a UPS in the States here for about $40, and it will, if you ever have power outages and if you ever do any prints that are longer than a couple hours or even a couple hour print, having a UPS, spend the $40. You already spent more than that on your hot end. You probably spent almost that much on a decent spool of ABS or PLA, maybe 2 spools. But get yourself a dang UPS and plug your printer into it. It will protect it from power surges to some extent, but it'll also get you through a brownout or something that will make you think, you know, your printer trip. Keep in mind your MCU is a microcontroller. Your Raspberry Pi in there is a little computer. They should be protected in some way, shape, or form, and a UPS is relatively cheap insurance. So my printer will be on a UPS, even though I have a whole home battery backup. Yeah, so I want to talk about that. Last but not least, and I know I've showed these off before, but we're getting to the point where this printer is going to be, you know, it's kind of one of those peekaboo situations where you might wind up just seeing this printer done, right? And then we just do some question and answer type stuff when we get to that point. But I've shown these off before. I just want to show them off again before they go on the printer. And that is the side panels with the logo. These are laser etched with a CO2 laser by KB3D. Chris did an awesome job with that. I sent him my logo and he was able to do that. So these are actually going to be the side panels on the printer. You know, on the left and right, it's going to flank both sides. So it's going to have my logo on there, and I'm going to try to side light those so that the logo actually glows a blue, preferably. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to have to come up with some mounting system for that. Maybe we can do a video on that at some point. And then we have the quintessential Voron graphic of all the parts. This is a sheet of, what was it? ACM, ACG, I forget. It's aluminum with a plastic inner. I forget what it is. It's only because I'm talking so much. But this is also laser etched with all the graphic here. This is actually going to be the back panel on my printer. The aluminum has a slightly, you know, a slight sheen to it, so the lighting inside the printer will reflect off that a little bit. I think it's going to look really nice when you look into the printer. I built this printer not only to print well and work well, but I also want it to look nice too. I kind of want it to be a centerpiece. It'll probably go once I redesign this room a little bit, if I plan on continuing to do videos, if you guys want me to keep on making videos, kind of make a wall back there. And it's going to be kind of one of those centerpieces that will be there, and you know, it will be there. We can pull it off the shelf, we can go look at it, we can do it, and it will have these cool components on it. Let me see about catching up real quick again. Let's see, the chit chat has stopped or slowed down quite a bit. Hit that like button, guys. Thanks, poor boy. Let me, I can't hit the like button. I'd hit my own like button if I could. Let's see here. You didn't mention the Rama idlers you have. The parts printed to fit them. Try and since you're using Mantis XL2 head, I lose a bit of Y travel on stock idlers. I'll talk about that in a second. Thanks for reminding me. Did forget about that. Nozzle brush in mind, yes. I need to use a proper UPS, right? I think most cheap ones don't work because they have a slight delay when switching or something like that. So, you know, a proper UPS, I work in an industry where a proper UPS is a double conversion UPS, which costs thousands of dollars. So I think a decently moderate quality UPS that you'd put on a personal computer should work just fine. I believe it's 30 millisecond switch over time on a normal UPS, 30 to 50. I could be off on that, but I believe that to be true. But yeah, anything like that would be fine. All you're gonna do is lose one print that you've spent, you know, 2-3 hours watching it print, and it's coming out perfectly. And to have that happen, and it's cheap insurance. So let's see here, aluminum composite ACP. Okay, that is ACM, aluminum composite material. All right, fight. I believe I was going to call it ACM. That could be as well. I order a lot of ACP in the sign business. It goes by many names. LOL. Yep, I'm going to call it really good stuff. So Tim, next time you order some ACM or ACP, just tell your wholesaler that you're looking for some really good stuff. You should be able to hit your own like button. YouTube calls it self-love. I'm not going to touch that. I was thinking that by what company is coming. I was just thinking that by what company it is coming from at DeWitt. Okay, yeah, I agree with that. People have different names for different things. It's the world. It's how it turns. So that is that. That is that. Let's talk about those Rama's idlers because NUNO brought that up. Let's see here. this. Nope, we want this one, yes. Making extra noises. So these are the Rama's idlers. And if, let me move a little bit further. Yeah. And if you're not familiar, the design principle of the Rama's idlers is to have better alignment on your belt. And I think they actually do work a little bit better than the original design Voron idlers, the ones that were on the 2.4, not necessarily the R2. The R2 idlers are slightly different than the original idlers. They've changed the position of where the screw goes in to adjust the idlers. And first look at it, and I haven't built one, it almost seems like it could be worse because the screw is actually going through a mating point of two pieces, which doesn't seem like a good idea to me. But anyways, that is the mechanical reason for these. They are, some people think they're ugly. I think they're pretty cool. I do like how they have cover plates on them. These are magnetic. I like the magnetic things. I like the thought and the principle behind having things that are magnetic. They have a double screw point here to basically do your tensioning as opposed to a single screw. So you're able to pull things, you know, equally top and bottom. That being said, when you tighten one screw, then you tighten the other screw just to basically finger tight because you already have tension on that first screw. So it's kind of hard to balance between the two, but the thought is there. You can do different covers if you want. You could even design your own if you really wanted to. But those work pretty well, and I'm glad NUNO brought that up. Those are on there. What else do I have that, that is different? I don't think there's much other things that are different. I mean, I'm using a PCB from X and Y, but that comes with the LDO kit. I bought one for my other printer when I built it. Just I didn't like having switches sitting out there by themselves. I guess this is kind of an odd thing I did. I used the proper grease for my Z axis or my Z axis linear rails, the Mobilux, but I did actually, the Mobilux is pretty thick. So on my X and Y rails, I actually used a combination of Mobilux mixed with some, where is it? With, what is it? I don't know where it is, but I use a little Mobilux mixing with a little of some Teflon lubricant as well. Teflon? Man, it's getting late. That's my problem. Lithium, sorry. Some lithium lubrication, just to make it looser so that this would actually not have so much drag on it. And by the way, don't do this a lot because you're basically driving electricity back into your MCU when you do that in your stepper drivers. Your stepper drivers more so than the MCU, but you're back feeding current to your printer when you do that, so don't do that. Yeah, so the bed, I have a couple different beds. Let me actually show you one of those. Show that off before, and I don't know if poor boy has seen my bed, but my bed's also custom from Chris. Gotta give Chris the props. And it's kind of hard to see unless I get just right in the light, but right there. My bed has a very fine etching of the logo on it as well. It shouldn't really affect my printing much, if at all. I'm not that picky on my surface, but just to give a kind of a show of how well those magnets hold. I was doing this last night. You can actually, and I know it doesn't look like much, but this is actually just being held on there by the 3 front magnets, and it's off there like a diving board. I believe I could probably, yeah, just one magnet on the very corner of this will hold this whole build plate on there just fine. Those magnets are pretty strong. There is no, because I'm using a tap, there is no sex bolt on here or a Z end stop. I do have some Fabrico build surfaces as well, some Honey Badger stuff. In here right now for the tap is a Honey Badger 50 millimeter linear rail. The Honey Badger stuff is pretty nice. So I do like that stuff on top of Chris's stuff. Everybody, all the vendors seem to do pretty good. And let's go back to the chat for a second. Oh, John's ripping stuff up. Let's see, what has he got here? My supplier, Grimco, calls Max Metal. All right, the good. Yeah. I have a Rama's Idler kit. Oh, you know what? I didn't mention the pin mod. Okay, no, I'll mention that too. Can be used on a trend. I believe so. I don't have a direct answer because I haven't done that. But if you go to the Rama's Git, I'm sure it will probably have some more information about that. I'll try to put a link in there if you want to look, Tim, or I'll send you a message. That's where I was going to mount mine. Do we see you have different STL for trying? There you go. There's your answer. Huh? Good. Main housing, Tim. Looks like also easier to run the belt. Yes, slightly easier to run the belt. It's not a huge difference, but it is slightly easier to run the belt. You make me think of something else I got in here too. EP2 grease. Yeah. Fancy. Yeah, I know. It's, again, hobbyist versus doing it professionally. Sometimes you do the fancy stuff just because. Trying to, okay. And no through holes for the Z belts needed. Yes, and trying to run as I mean. Gucci build for sure. Yes. Where did you get that? Where did you get that plate? Oh, so this plate right here is actually branded on it. It's from KB3D. Whoop. He's got his little brand on there. But I have a actually, let me talk about one more thing. I grab my Fabrico plate real quick too. I apologize, I'm leaving camera here. I know it's kind of annoying, but I do want to show you a difference because, nope, that is another KB3D. I have lots of parts. Here we go. Okay, so yeah, so that build plate's by KB3D. And before I go to the Fabrico one, what I'll point out is this is double-sided textured. So if you're the type of guy or gal that likes the textured build plate, this is great because you have it on both sides. So if you mess up one side, you can go to the other side, or you can, flip it every so often. I'm like behind the writing buff over there. You can flip it over so often so you don't wear it out. With the tap and those types of things, if you want to get even. So basically double-sided texture on that, which is kind of nice and is very thick. Also very thick, maybe even slightly thicker, but only by a hair, not quite a hair actually, is the Honey Badger, the Fabrico version, which has a finer texture on it. It's actually not quite as rough of a texture. I would say, and I don't know if everybody uses the same grit for sandpaper. I'm just going to assume everybody does, but I'd say like this is probably like a, like a 120 grit, and this one's closer to like 180 or 200 grit, so it's much finer. This almost looks like a ABS sheet that you would see. It's a very nice texture. It's very uniform, but not, no pattern on it. And that one's that's a Honey Badger from Fabrico. So this one's from KB3D, the double-sided. This one's from Fabrico, but it is not double-sided. You get positives and negatives depending on what you do and where you get it from. And I think they're both about the same price out the door, so to speak. So yeah. Let's see here. Bed from in the US. Yes, the bed was from there. Trying to file, poor boy. Sorry guys, gotta go. 5 a.m. is coming fast here on the East Coast. Awesome build plate, by the way. I agree. Poor boy, I will see you soon. Hopefully I catch you on some chat someplace and we can talk. Yeah, I myself are getting up at 5:30 in the morning, so this thing's gonna come to an end pretty quick here. Probably about another 5 or 10 minutes. So I'll let everybody know that. So if you got something else you want to go do, we'll be ending this pretty soon. Let's see. Good night. Yes, seems like it would wear scratch down on them. Seems to me like it would wear scratch down on them. DJ Natty, could you give me a little more information what you're looking at? You're talking about the textured plates, because they hold up pretty well, to be honest with you. Nuno, 3 a.m. over here. You are a night owl. SK3D, see ya, po' boy. Yes, okay. So I didn't talk about a couple other things that I wanted to, because I forgot. And one of those things was in the same light as the Rama's idlers. And that is the belt retention on my Z's, which basically go straight up as opposed to out. And I don't know if any of these are very easy for you to see. Getting an angle on some of this stuff is sometimes pretty difficult. But this one you can see, I think. Nope, this one right here. So basically these have the idler look to them. They have the eyebrows on them. And then they have the belt that comes straight up out of them, almost like a tongue. So basically they are grooved on the bottom side, belt coming straight up out of them, and then you can cut them there, leave them a little bit long if you want. That way they don't scrape up and down on your side panels on your build, because that just makes it look ugly. So I wanted to show those real quick. Those are something that are a little bit different as well. And there's one more thing, but I've already forgotten what it was. Oh, the pin mod. So I went ahead and did the pin mod on this, and people can argue back and forth as to whether or not it's a viable mod or not. But I do, if you go to my channel, you don't have to, but I will tell you that I have on my channel, one of my posts on my my channel community board, whatever you want to call it, I went ahead and I took out my calipers and I measured the pins. I measured the bolts that were prescribed in the build, the BOM, and in the build manual. And I also measured the idlers and basically the bearings and everything that go around those pins or those bolts. And the pins were very, very, very closer to the diameter, the inside diameter of those parts than the bolts were. And there was a lot of slop. Now, the argument I usually hear first off on that is that basically because there's tension on the belt, it's pulling those parts towards that pin or that screw, bolt, whatever. So it's not going to matter much if there's a little slop on there, which I totally agree with. That is 100% true until something changes direction. And on an XY, Core XY printer, things change direction quite often and frequently. So, you know, that argument has some truth to it, but at the same time, it's not an end all be all in terms of that being making that a falsified solution. I do think the pin mods probably are another mod that I would definitely do again. It didn't really cost a lot. It didn't take a lot of work. And if it reduces some, some slop in the belt travel or in how the mechanics are working in the printer for little or no money really, then it's well worth doing. If you're self-sourcing parts, the pins are going to cost you about the same amount as the screws would, so it's kind of a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned on that. Tim's E3D nozzles are en route. Awesome. Meant the message I wrote above that. Well, now I gotta go look. Let me go look real quick. GJ, not a different STL. Oh, okay. All right. You were talking to Tim. Sit in NUNO. Vincente, crazy late, midday here. It's funny. We're all over the world, right? That's one of the great things about this. And we all get along. We could only teach everybody else that's not in the 3D printing is to get along, right? The other argument for the pin mod is mostly for the toothed idlers. They so have way more similar bearings that can rock wear down, more on the screw than flat dowel pins. Yes. So I think what you're talking about there, DJ, is the threads on the screws wearing in to the back sides of those, and I do agree with that. And it will probably, if you have, almost like little blades, which would be the threads cutting into the back there, they're going to wear in a lot quicker than a flat surface because there's going to be a little bit more drag, but at the same time, if it's on a bearing or an idler, it's not going, it's going to have a more surface to actually ride on, so less moving. Bolts around 0.2 millimeters smaller than their size, M5 4.8, M4 3.8, etc. You know what? before I kind of cut away here for the night, again, I appreciate everybody coming by, and hopefully nobody clicks off yet, but I'm gonna bring up my channel real quick, and I got actual like measurements that I can show, because I do think that's important, because that really gets downplayed a lot, the pin mods, and it's downplayed a lot by some pretty influential people in the Voron community, and I won't even go into threadlocker on plastic either. That will just get me going for the night. I won't be able to sleep. All right, yeah. Let me share. Is there anything on this I can't share? It's no like special passwords. Let me share this. So this is a post I made back 3 months ago. Pins, what's the point? Good question. I don't think anyone here likes sloppy. Do you? Here are some pics of the M5 screws versus pins. Notice the slop available, your choice. 0.22, so you were very close to what I got for a measurement, is a lot of play, and 0.02 is not so much. Before I ask, pins are from KB3D. So that is me measuring a pin at 4.96 millimeters, and the inside of that bearing at 4.98, so 0.02 millimeters difference there, very little. And then finally, one of the bolts there. And yes, those calipers are thick enough so that they're on the outside, not on the inside of those threads, measuring out at 4.76. So almost 0.2 of a millimeter different there in terms of what you have there. So yes, a lot of slop. 0.2 millimeters is a lot of slop to have in a printer. Let's see here. May have guessed Sydney here. I have a cousin that currently lives in New Zealand. You guys are just coming up on spring now, or actually fall, right? You guys are heading in the winter down there. Down under. Hope that's not offensive. Not trying to be offensive. You mean threadlocker is not the solution to everything? Not only is threadlocker not the solution to everything, but it also doesn't destroy everything like some people would make you think. There are a lot of hobbyists in the RC car or airplane or whatever the RC market was that were using threadlocker on nylon screws and nuts, and what they found is that it destroyed the nylon screws and nuts. I actually researched this because it was bothering me, and they found that it was destroying those, it was causing them issues, it was doing this, that, and the other thing, and somehow that carried over to 3D printers because there is a small, you know, lead over community or bridge between the two. And I wound up, I don't even know if I still have it, I wound up drenching a unused part for the printer in threadlocker, and that's actually another post on here. Yeah. Now I'm gonna have to show it. See, this is all my good stuff right here. So I hit it with threadlocker, the liquid type, and I hit it with threadlocker, the paste type, and I actually attacked it over time. This one, let's see, this was keep you at 4 to 6 months ABS print. So that was right after it did. I admitted how highly technical that was, by the way. And then let's zoom up through here. I should have wore that sweatshirt. That's a cool sweatshirt. Right here. So I actually attacked it with a knife, with a utility knife, with some small pliers, anything I could to look for, you know, things that would make me think that the threadlocker was doing anything to it. And I just could not find anything. I could, you know, these are really up close pictures. You know, it hadn't seeped into it, it hadn't gummified anything, it hadn't delaminated layers, it hadn't done anything really. When I cut through it, everything was fine. When I peeled it using pliers, everything was fine. You know, it really had, it seemingly had no effect on it. And that was over a month of that threadlocker being on there in quantities that nobody would ever use, and no reasonable person would ever use. So, and then this one here, I'm basically talking about the fact that, you know, I don't think threadlocker really hurts ABS printers, or ABS in general. You know, there might be some ABS brands, because ABS and a lot of the filaments that we use are a little bit different depending on the manufacturer. But in my particular case, I didn't see any harm of using that on that ABS. However, there are a lot of people that are using nail polish as a thread locker, and nail polish sometimes has acetone in it. And as we all know, acetone does indeed harm ABS because it's used to smooth ABS. It melts ABS. So, what do I know? Let's see here. Oh, double-sided texture plate on bare steel bed. So what you're thinking is that the steel bed would wear the textured plate. I don't think so. I guess time will tell, but I don't think so. It's not like it's rubbing against it at all, so it should do pretty good. Yeah, you need to build a Lazy Susan base. Tim, why don't you help me with that? Why don't we build a electronic Lazy Susan base with stepper motors in it? And we could do a rotational printer. We can make it we can make it I don't know what we're gonna make it. I'm trying to think of something fun, but it's getting too late. Let's see here. The other army for pin mod is mostly for the tooth idlers. They have the wear smalling bearings, can rock wear down, screws flat versus dowel pins. Yes, bolts. Yeah, we already read this. You mean thread locks? Yeah, we got to that. Getting cool down here now. No, we like down under. Perfect. Okay. You know, down under. To me, when I hear that, I think Australia, New Zealand, that area. But neither down nor under are notably positive words. So you never know, you know, and I really don't want to offend anybody. So thanks for letting me know, you know, and by the way, since there's people here from all over the world, if I ever do say anything that's kind of offensive, let me know. I don't want to offend anybody. I think we're all friends, and I'd like to know more about all of you. Let's see, of the material your part tested printed out from. Of what material was that part? That was ABS. That was specifically, Sparta Limebot Green Sparkle ABS Plus on that part, which is also what my green accent is on my printer currently. And it was actually the cover door, a cover door I didn't use that was green because it didn't look good in the green. Let's see here. Pure ABS or something like Sparta ABS. It was something like Sparta ABS. So yes, like I said, different ABS, different manufacturers, different mixtures. And mine was one example, one type. I did reach out to CNC Kitchen. I'm sure a lot of you guys know CNC Kitchen. I mentioned to Stefan via Twitter, and he responded back. So he might be doing some testing on materials and some, I believe at some point in time, he may be doing a series of, I think he used the word fable when he responded to me. So he might be working on something over the long term for, 3D printing material fables or something like that. And that may or may not hit the mark for him. Yeah, he did seem a little bit interested. Let's see here. A lot of unproven claims made out there. I believe things when I see them, I hear them. Yeah, and sometimes when you see them too on places like YouTube, you can't believe them either. SK3D, thanks, Kermit. Enjoyed. Good night. SK, thank you. SK3D is also a patron, so I do thank you for that. I will keep making these printers and keep making videos as long as people are watching them and everybody's positive, and I get a little bit of help here and there by people so I can afford to do some of this stuff. So SK, thank you again. Great stream, always informative, fun. I'm not streaming, too tired. Yeah, I went a little long, but I haven't done a stream in a little bit and I haven't recorded a video, so I had to do something for the people. Sparta ABS, not pure ABS. It's more like ABS Plus with other material. Yes, it's actually listed ABS Plus, and I totally agree. Most ABS, even if it's not listed ABS Plus, is not pure ABS. And I'm just a standard guy. I have no idea what's in somebody's ABSs. ABSs? Is that a word? Anyways. Been flat out here. I'll catch up and rewatch later. No worries. You have fun. Let's see here. Rich, fun stream. Thank you. Tezza, yep. So with that, I've caught up with all the stuff. We've gone over the VORON 2.4, kind of front and back, and maybe a little bit side to side, who knows. I didn't cover everything, I'm sure, so if you have additional questions, please leave me a comment. If you haven't watched the backlog of videos for this build, some of it's entertaining, some of it's probably boring. But if you're into 3D printing, I hope you do check out my channel. If you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up if you haven't done that. It looks like we had, at one point, 25 or 30 people watching, but we only got 18 likes. What's up with that? So if you haven't hit the like button, you're still here, please do that. I will let you know when I'm going to do another live stream. I'll try to do more videos here upcoming before we get too close to spring or summer and get this thing built up, and we'll get some printing done and try to do some cool stuff. But that's where I cut off, and I say goodnight, and I hope everybody enjoyed this, and I will talk to you all soon. Good night.